Hi guys, Jason J here again, the Flair Guy. Today I want to paint a distinction between doing something and doing it with flair. See, in my mind there's a massive difference. And the way I'm going to paint a distinction is by introducing the work of a famous psychologist called Dr. William Howell. And he invented something back in the 1950s called the phases of learning. And I think this model goes a long way to explaining why some of us really fire on and enjoy and eat up our work, and some of us potentially just feel like it's a means to an end and almost can't wait to get out of there. It's a model I think that should be taught at school as well, so kids really understand where they are on the process. Once we understand this way of learning, we can sort of see where we are and we can make adjustments and make decisions around whether we want to continue along that way or we want to maybe move off and do something else. So, what does it look like? Well, it consists of 4 parts, or 4 phases if you like. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Now I'm going to use some pretty long words here, but for my own purposes as much as anyone's, we're going to abbreviate it. And now let's start with phase 1. Now phase 1 is what they call unconscious incompetence. I'm going to call it UI for short. Unconscious incompetence. And the easiest way to think about this is I don't know what I don't know. And now most of us don't know what we don't know because there's so much to learn that we're blissfully ignorant of everything else. And that probably keeps us sane. So we all start at this level of unconscious incompetence, yeah? Okay, next one. 2. I'm just going to explain what these phases are, then we'll kind of join them up and talk about the process. The next one is conscious incompetence. I kind of know what I don't know, in other words. So consciously incompetent, I'll give you an example a little bit later, but consciously incompetent means I'm aware of something that I don't know how to do. Number 3 is conscious competence. Now this is where we get to once we kind of know how to do something. It's pretty straightforward. And most people end up around there, consciously competent at things. But number 4 is the one I'm all about. It's about doing something in a way that looks natural for you. It's almost an expression of who you are, and that's what I call flair. And what do we got here? Unconscious competence, or UC. And this one is basically I own it. I'm in a pocket, if you like. So, how do these relate to each other is the question. There are really 4 stages, and I thought this is again a great representation, a great way to get to know where we sit. So let's talk about the progression from phase 1 to phase 2. Phase 1, obviously, we're not even aware of it, we don't even think about it, but something might cross in front of our vision and we do become aware of it. Now, a great example I like to choose, I've got kids, so, and I've got 2 older boys and 1 younger one. And there comes a time where they get interested. I put them in the back seat to start with, in the booster seat and everything. And there comes a time where they start being curious about the concept of driving, because Dad's in the front seat and he's doing stuff in the front. And they start here, obviously just sitting on the back seat, dribbling on themselves, if you like. And then the next stage is they kind of see me doing stuff and they go, oh, there is a skill of driving, if you like. So movement from 1 to 2 is through awareness. So I become aware of something and then I become consciously incompetent. So, and what I found with my boys, it probably is around the age of 4 or 5. They realize, hey, there is a skill good like driving, where you drive cars, and I don't know how to do it. My dad knows how to do it. So they're aware that they don't know how to do it. Simple stuff. Okay, so then we talk about the next progression from phase 2 to phase 3. And this is a really, really important one too. This comes a little bit later in my analogy in life, might be when we're kind of teaching one of my boys to drive. Now they haven't got there yet, and so I don't know what's ahead of me, but this transition point obviously comes through, let's just say it's learning or being taught. So we become aware that we don't know skill, and then we learn, either we learn through our own means or someone teaches it to us, but one way or the other we get the data we need to call ourselves consciously competent, in other words, to know what we know. Now, in that driving analogy, let's say my son is 16, 17, however the age needs to be, and he knows how to drive, but he's not great driving. We all think we're great drivers, but at that age, a lot of different things they're not really aware of. It's not natural for them, is it? So the gears might be crunching, or it might be stopping suddenly, or following people too close, or what have you. Consciously competent can get from A to B, but not necessarily second nature at this stage. Right, now this is where most people stop. This is where most of us get to, and I include myself and the human race in this. We get consciously competent at something, and we just kind of go about the task, which is fine. It gets us through, no dramas there. But the real secret to finding joy in what we do is to go to the next level. And the next level, the transition point, there is a bit of a wall to break through here, there's no doubt about it, is consciously competent to unconsciously competent. Now, I think you probably know what I'm going to say here. The transition, or what drives that transition, is very simply practice. And I'm not just going to say practice, but focused practice. Almost like immersing yourself in becoming that skill. Because when we do hit unconscious competence, we actually do almost become the skill. It's not something we're doing anymore, it's something we are. People look to us as being that. In my example of bartending, let's say, way back, at the dawn of time, I became consciously competent in doing certain tasks because they were just driven into my psyche, if you like, and people saw me as being very natural at it. Obviously now I've replicated this model into other areas of my life. So there we go. There's a transition point there from one to the other up to unconsciously competent. So this to me is doing it. This is doing it with flair or making the skill your own. But the key is that how do we move from one to the other? Now there's a couple of things there. Firstly, we've got to make the decision that we want to go to that next level. We want to nail the skill. With me in video marketing, for example, that's I want to have this down unconsciously competent. I want to be able to do it naturally. There also obviously has to be a bit of work. There's that great adage which talks about the keys to success. What are they? Number one, decide what you want to do. Where do we want to head? Number two, be willing to pay the price. Well, this is the price here. And they say most people never get to step one. So most people don't actually get to focus on where they want to head. So, are you ready to do the work? Are you willing to do the work? Is the work worthwhile for you to do? Is there a payoff for you that will benefit you? And obviously that's when you're going to do it. If it's being grated, I was going to say grating cheese, but that would be a pun. If it's being grated washing dishes, well, that's great. But it's not really going to necessarily get you to the next level. If your job was washing dishes, for example, in a kitchen, and you became unconsciously competent and really, really amazing at the speed and the care and the cleanliness that you're able to achieve with your plates, that's going to suddenly build momentum around your career and start moving you places. Because see, people, when they watch someone who's in this zone, and it is a zone, this is the steps into the zone, they can't help but admire and aspire to that person. Now, there's no secret to it. All that person has done is the work to a point where that skill has become so inherently tied to who they are that it's just part of an expression of themselves. But it's very attractive for other people to watch, and people want to be closer to it, and they want to assist and help people with that. And I found that at times in my career as well. So, if you want to move ahead in your career, if you want to have people helping you along and also to find that sort of deeper sense of joy and satisfaction in what you're doing, you've got to ask yourself the question, am I willing, do I know what I want really to achieve here? And secondly, am I willing to pay the price? And if you are, look, there's a big benefit at the end of it. Unconsciously competent is basically one way of just saying you love what you do and you are what you do. Anyway, I'm babbling now. There's a little bit of insight for you, a nice little model to sort of reflect on where you're at with your work and maybe some of the other things in your life. That's it for now. This is Jason J. We'll see you next time. Bye.